In a world dominated by crossovers, SUVs and premium brands, it's easy to forget about the humble Ford Mondeo. Yet it's reassuring that while buyers are drifting towards different niches and body styles, Ford has kept its family car focused on doing what it does best, offering excellent value for money and a fine driving experience. Some cars get smaller and sleeker as they evolve, but with family cars like the Mondeo, the shape of progress is definitely bigger and smarter. It carries all of this bulk extremely well though. It's a smart, conservative exterior that certainly won't offend anyone, and actually we think it looks pretty classy, particularly with that Aston Martin inspired grille up front. And it's clever too, it actually shuts at cruising speed to improve airflow and increase fuel economy. Despite being so vast though, Z-Tech models only come on 16-inch alloy wheels which look absolutely tiny as standard, and even the optional 19s on our titanium test car get kind of lost when surrounded by all this bodywork. On the plus side, most Mondeos come with smart details like this chrome trim, LED rear lights and power folding door mirrors. Small details perhaps, but fairly important ones if you want your car to look good on the driveway. However, as we all know, cars usually spend more time on the road than they do sat at home, and, well, the Mondeo slightly misses the mark as far as interior quality is concerned. It all looks very modern, so you've got a big 8-inch touchscreen display, digital TFT dials here in front of me, and lots of buttons on the steering wheel. However, it all feels distinctly bargain basement. There are big sways of fairly hard, cheap plastic everywhere in here, and some exposed screw heads. And when key rivals like the VW Passat have made the step up in quality to take on cars like the C-Class, that's a bit of a problem. Even with the optional titanium X-Pack fitted, which adds these leather seats which are heated and come with electrical adjustment as standard, keyless entry and privacy glass, it's not quite enough to lift this interior from rags to riches. Oh, and the infotainment system, well, that's powered by Microsoft, but it'll probably remind you a bit too much of Windows 98. At least space isn't an issue. Those front seats are comfortable and very supportive. Visibility is great, except for a small blind spot over your shoulder. And here in the back, your passengers will be treated to generous levels of head and legroom. Apart from this middle seat though, which is raised, quite narrow, and as you can see there's not much headroom, although that's partly to do with the optional sunroof. For years, the Mondeo set the standard in this class for the way it drove. Just like the Fiesta, here was a normal car that just also happened to drive, stop and steer really beautifully, and it was good fun too. Now this version, the new one, is a little bit different. It's got a new electrically assisted power steering system which robs the driver of a little bit of feedback for the sake of some extra high-speed stability. It's not a major thing, but it means it feels a bit more grown up than before. The chassis though is still really talented and it rides very supplely indeed, and it just soaks up all the worst bumps and potholes that you can throw at it. Although I have to say these 19-inch alloy wheels do make it a little bit choppier in town and they're best avoided. As for the engine lineup, well, there's two sportier turbocharged petrols. One's a 1.5 with 158 brake horsepower, while the second is a 2-litre with 238 brake horsepower. That's actually the same engine that you'll find in the new Jaguar XE. Diesels are likely to be a lot more popular than those petrols though, and there's 3 to choose from. The entry-level 1.6 is decent enough and it's very efficient, particularly in Econetic trim where it emits just 94 grams per kilometre, but it does feel rather laboured pulling around such a big car, particularly because of the long gearing of this 6-speed manual gearbox. The more expensive, higher-powered 178 brake horsepower 2-litre is also just probably a little pricey for a Mondeo, so the one I'm driving here, which is the mid-range 148 brake version, is a nice compromise. It's smooth, punchy and very refined. In fact, the Mondeo as a whole is an extremely hushed car. It just makes it a very relaxing, stress-free car to drive long distances, which is exactly what a Mondeo should be. The family car market is changing rapidly, but Ford still makes one of the best models around. The Mondeo is great to drive, with a fine balance of ride and handling and exemplary refinement. It's also a spacious and practical family car, and an impressive all-rounder. However, if you value interior quality, generous luxury kit, or strong diesel performance, then there are rivals out there that do these things better, the Skoda Superb and VW Passat, to name just two. If you enjoyed watching this video, click the button below to subscribe to our YouTube channel, or leave us a comment to let us know what you think of the Ford Mondeo.